Casey Martin from Wine Country Woodworks, and this is going to be a fun little video on me cleaning up my casting workbench by casting all of these cured drippings from scraping it off. So I started doing that because I spilled some Alumilite on it this day, and I figured I should probably take it off to clean it as best as I could, and while I'm at that, I might as well scrape it clean as much as possible. And so I figured might as well cast these kind of for fun, and since I was gonna do that, I might as well make a video of it because I thought it'd be kind of fun to show you guys how it ends up turning out, which is kind of cool. So I took this over to kind of an open space in my shop where I could kind of sweep it all together once they were all done, and I kind of bended it and flexed it as much as possible to kind of break the seal a little bit, and then was left with a fair amount more. The only thing that was kind of a complication with this, and there's all of the drippings at this point, was that there was some pockets of dye kind of on these cured pieces of resin, and I'll talk more how they kind of affect the casting later on. It ends up being a problem that I deal with just fine, but right now I'm just kind of having no plan of just putting them in there. I'm just trying to, break them to get as much in there as possible. So this was a pretty big mold that I decided to use. It's 3 inches square by 7 inches long. I figured what I wanted to do with this piece was to make it more of a display piece. So I wasn't sure if I wanted to turn it into something. That was kind of the idea at first, but because of the dye pockets that I will show you guys later on, I decided I didn't really want to do that. I just wanted to make it a display block, polish the heck out of it, and then just shine it up so that I could keep it somewhere for display. So this block used a lot of resin, as you guys just see me fill up right there. I did 22 ounces the first pour, which wasn't even enough. And I thought for a while on colors. I was either going to go with a complete opaque white or something transparent. And so I ended up going with crystal clear, just no dyes, nothing like that, because the white would have looked cool because it would have made some of them pop, but there was a lot of white cured resin drippings and you wouldn't really be able to see anything in the middle. So I went with clear because I thought once it's all polished and shined up, it'll be something that's really clean and shiny and polished and nice looking, but it looks dirty inside, at least to me, because I know what it is. So you guys will have to let me know what you think about it, especially at the end when it's all polished up. And I ended up adding another 16 ounces of resin, so it was 38 ounces in total, which is pretty big pour since the drippings actually don't take up as much volume as I was thinking they were going to. And you guys will see in a moment that I had quite a tough time working with these to make them stop floating. If I had a lot more of the cured drippings, what I could have done is stuff them all in there and then taped the top ones down, but I didn't have enough to do that. And the other thing was I had added so much resin at that point that if I did do that, it would have overflowed the resin. Considering even though the workbench top is still pretty dirty, since I just cleaned it as much as I could, I really didn't want to do that. So I keep on trying to press them back down there. What I kind of end up doing that worked a little bit was trying to wedge some of the bigger pieces in there to kind of get a friction fit. It didn't work the best, but some of them kind of stayed there and stopped floating as much. So I ended up putting this guy in the pressure pot for 4 hours because I knew there was probably some dye pockets that weren't going to cure that well. So I wanted to leave it in there for as long as possible. And here is the block when it is all cured and finished. It looks pretty cool as is, since that mold is still relatively new. The sides and obviously the top, which is untouched, looks pretty good. So you can see that kind of dye pocket on the side, that blue purple, and then there's a dye pocket of red on the bottom that ends up being kind of annoying to work with. So when it comes to cleaning this up, because of the dye pockets, all I really wanted to do was just cut off the top to make it square. So I do that on the table saw, and it wasn't any problem. I realized with the dye pockets, they were all kind of on the bottom. There's that one on the side, but it's still kind of more on the bottom. That's just because they're dense. And so I ended up sanding all of the sides up to 1500 grit, and this was plenty high enough since I was going to buff it at the buffing wheel after that. And what I did to kind of deal with the die pockets was I used some thin CA glue to kind of stabilize them, and it made it stop smearing everywhere. So I used the whole buffing system, and I ended up putting a pretty thick coat of wax from the wax wheel on it to kind of act as a protective barrier in case the die was ever going to be a problem, which it ended up not being. And here is the finished block. I'm actually really happy with how it turned out. I'm really happy with the finish I was able to get on it. There's still a couple fuzzies that you guys may be able to see that I didn't completely get off, but I'm happy with how much depth it has. You can really see into it, and it just really looks dirty, in my opinion. I'm just gonna call it like the clean but dirty block. And I'm really curious to hear what you guys think, and definitely let me know what you guys think in the comment description down below. I definitely am gonna keep this on my computer work desk, kind of as a reminder and a motivation. I was thinking of keeping it on my casting workbench, but because of the dust in the shop, I was going to have to clean it over and over. And anyway, like the video if you guys liked it, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.